Hey, everybody. Welcome, greetings, all you readers, writers, and fans of the dark, mysterious, and paranormal. Welcome to another exciting and entertaining episode of The Writing Lair. For those of you joining for the first time, if you've just stumbled across this channel, my name is Brady Longmore. I'm an independently published author. I currently have 4 books out in publication right now, and I'm currently working on number 5. This channel is dedicated to reading, writing, and scary stuff. I like to sprinkle in a little bit of paranormal stories, ghost stories, UFOs, Bigfoot, stuff like that. I like to talk about it and discuss it, tell some creepy true stories that I know about, and I like to sprinkle that out and then mix it in with some talk about reading and writing tips, all kind of driven through that independently publishing angle. So if that sounds like something that you'd like to be a part of, if that sounds good to you, and maybe we're kindred spirits, so I invite you to like and subscribe and help me grow this channel. Help a starving artist out. Okay, so with all that said, and now that you've liked and subscribed, let's get going with today's episode. All right, we are back. Okay, so gonna be hard for me because I was actually kind of dreading this episode because my previous episode prior to this was me taking you on a field trip, and we actually went to a bona fide haunted hotel and walked around in there. So it's gonna be hard for me to top that episode. Maybe I never will, but I decided I need to get back on the horse and get going on this channel. You can't make a YouTube channel grow if you don't actually make videos. So here we go. Today's episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about. I just wanted to tell you all a little bit about how I got into writing horror. There's kind of a deep psychological reason that I got into this. And I don't just write horror. I write horror adventure. I write, horror, fantasy, action adventure, that kind of stuff. But those of you who've read all my books know what I'm talking about. I don't want to just box myself into one genre, but I am, I do like horror, and there's a reason, I think. And I had to kind of do some introspection and discover why that is. So I thought I'd tell a quick story, a little trauma from my childhood. And I think, I can. I get asked this. This is why I'm talking about it. I do get asked this by people. What led you to horror? What led you to write something like The Frickin' Summoning? Because the people that knew me were actually, a lot of people were very surprised. Poor innocent people trying to help out a struggling artist who'd written his first book and self-published it, and a lot of people bought it. And then I started getting phone calls, and people were like, hey, this is really good, and I didn't know you were like this. People were surprised. People were concerned. People were caught off guard that I would write something like that, because it gets pretty dark. It gets pretty twisted. So I've been compared by people who don't know me. If you go to my reviews on Amazon.com, I get compared to Stephen King a few times. That, to me, is a big compliment. It's also, I can see why people are concerned. My own wife was concerned. She was like, what? I can't believe you wrote this. She liked it. But anyway, I thought a reading club, a book club full of ladies, church ladies basically, that I knew, decided they were going to read my book, or one of them suggested they read my book for their book club, and it backfired big time. And so they're like, yeah, we can't read this stuff. Demons, possession, murder. So yeah, and I completely understand my feelings were not hurt. I was actually kind of horrified that they were gonna read it, to be honest with you. But I wrote the book never imagining that a bunch of people I actually know were gonna read it. Anyway, so we're gonna go into my childhood a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you a little story. And I think this story is kind of what got things going for me. So when I was in third grade, and I guess that makes you, what, about 11 years old? 10, 11, something like that? A new kid moved into the neighborhood. His name was Danny. We're still friends on Facebook. I haven't seen him in years, but he might see this video, so he might know what I'm talking about. I know he remembers. But we were pretty good friends. We hung out a lot. We spent our summers like every single day playing in the neighborhood together, and he just lived across a field. And he got this new pup tent, little 2-man, little triangle-shaped pup tent, and he wanted to try it out. So he invited me over. We're going to spend the night in his tent. We're going to put it up in the backyard and sleep out in his tent. And so I went over there, and we went to do that, and we rolled out our sleeping bags and put them in there, and we're two 11-year-old boys in this tent, and we start talking. We're talking. If you know me, I love ghost stories. I've always just something about sitting around that fire in a campground or whatever and start telling these creepy ghost stories, and everyone else probably doesn't appreciate it when I start steering the conversation in that direction, but I can't help it. So we're in there, we're telling probably really innocent kind of ghost stories. The scariest movie I had seen at this point in my life was probably The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, or Watcher in the Woods, maybe, because yeah. So I was pretty tender. I was pretty in this bubble where I didn't know about The Exorcist and the Amityville Horror and stuff. That stuff, I had no concept of that stuff. So we're telling these really innocent stories. Probably, I can't remember them. The hook on the door handle was probably the scariest story I knew. The killer escapes from prison and the boyfriend drives off just in time to. But there was a hook on the door handle anyway. You've all heard that story. It's the most famous ghost story ever. It's not really a ghost story. Scary story. Campfire story. Anyway, I'm trying to hurry through this because I don't want this to be a really long video, so I'm just kind of blah, 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 blah. His mom comes out. She's probably getting ready to go to bed, and she comes out to check on us one last time. And she asks us, what are you guys doing? And we told her, we're just telling some ghost stories. And she's like, oh, ghost stories. You guys want to hear a true ghost story? Something that really happened to my grandfather? And, we're, oh, yeah, cool. I'd love to hear a true ghost story. I thought they were all true. What do you mean? And she proceeds, this mother of children, proceeds to tell us a story about her grandfather and how one night he'd made this decision to change his life and start going to church and stop drinking and start reading the Bible more, and he made this conscious decision he was going to start doing things a little different. And that night when he went to go to bed, he actually had just read his Bible, put it on the nightstand, and turned out the light, and he was laying there trying to go to sleep, and these demonic, leering white faces that just kind of started to hover over his bed, looking down at him, and they started to circle around him, and they're snarling and hissing at him. The evil spirits, she said. These are evil spirits. And the bed starts to shake, and he's terrified, and he prays out and says some prayer, or casts them out in the name of Christ or something, I can't remember. And they disappear, and they go away. And she's like, okay, well, you two have a good night, and have fun. I'm going to bed. And she leaves. This, you gotta understand, I'm 11 years old. Like I said, The Ghost of Mr. Chicken was as insane as it got for me at that age. And I couldn't believe what I just heard. It to me, the devil, okay, Satan, the devil. My concept of the devil at this age was a guy in a red suit with a pitchfork and a tail that whispered in your ear and tried to convince you to steal bubble gum from the local grocery store or something. That was my idea of the devil. I had no concept of demons and possession and manifestations of Satan and all this. That was all new to me, and this was like, boom! It just like broke my mind. I laid in bed that night. I remember I couldn't sleep. I just sat there petrified in the tent, staring up at the nylon fabric, waiting for a white leering face to appear, and try to what I don't know. I was scared to death, and it really did something. It psychologically, I was scared of that thing. I was scared of that very thing for it felt like years. Ask my parents. They probably got sick and tired of it. It all kind of culminated. I remember I just would go to bed every night like a man, like a condemned prisoner to the gas chamber. Every night, to me, I was convinced was the night that I was going to be visited by some kind of demon or even Satan himself. I just was so scared of it. And I was just convinced that it was just a matter of time before I had a similar experience. No, why not? If I would, why wouldn't I? If Satan's going to do it to this poor old guy, why wouldn't he do it to me? I'm already terrified. And I remember being so scared of this, and I there was one particular night I couldn't take it anymore, and I was just so scared because I thought, tonight's the night. This is the night. It's gonna happen. I was convinced, and I finally decided to say something to my dad. I still remember he's sitting in his chair, probably watching the 10 o'clock news or something, or who knows what he was watching. But I remember he was watching TV, and I kind of approached, and I'm embarrassed. I'm kind of ashamed and embarrassed, but I'm just too scared. I can't hold it in anymore. So I went to my dad, and I was like, "Hey, I'm afraid of evil spirits, and I'm afraid that evil spirits are gonna visit me." And he said something like, "Well, you don't have to worry about it." And I said, "Well, I just can't stop thinking about it." And his answer was, "Well, if you think about it so much, they probably will come." And it was like, that was it. Condemned man, off to the gas chamber I went. Trudged up the stairs. It never happened. I dealt with this for a while, the fear, and it slowly wore off, I guess, over time. And but I think after that, as I got older into my teenage years, instead of afraid of it, I was still afraid of it, but I started to explore it a little more. Like I was, became a little more fascinated by it, but not in the dangerous way, not like I was seeking out that stuff, but I was curious, like, man, what is all this? And so I really felt mentally crippled by that fear as a kid. I felt helpless. I'd go to bed, I'd wait for these evil spirits to come. I didn't dare shower with I showered, but I didn't dare close my eyes. I'd be shampooing my hair with my eyes wide open, because I thought if I closed my eyes, that when I opened them, there would be a evil spirit would have appeared or something. Just I was like, just crazy. I was just crazy with this fear. And so I think I needed to confront it. So for those of you who've asked me, that's what this video is for. For those of you who've asked me or have wondered what got me to write a horror novel like The Summoning, I think deep down inside, a part of me was broken by this fear. Like I was traumatized. I truly was psychologically kind of traumatized by this fear. And I think I needed to at last confront it in a way. So I wrote The Summoning, and I had a lot of fun writing it. But I wrote these characters, these heroes, these good guys versus evil, and I think I needed to kind of just get that out. And I'm a writer. That's my catharsis. I write. I've always journaled. When I was a kid, if I was scared, if I saw a girl I fell in love with that day, I'd go home and write about her in my journal. So writing was my outlet. Writing is how I dealt with emotions and stuff. So I think writing a horror novel just got that out onto the page, the stuff that scared me, and I got to write characters who stood up to that kind of thing and challenged it. And I think that's my answer. For those of you who have asked, what got me into horror, and now that I'm older, I just think it's fun. I love a good scary story. Ghosts, give me ghosts, and hauntings and stuff like that. I just think it's just fun. Movies and books that and ghost stories around the campfire. I just can't get enough of it. Doesn't mean doesn't mean I want to be visited by evil spirits. I still could. I'll still take a pass on that. Not even a rain check. A total pass. But anyway, so that's today's video. I wanted to start doing something. I didn't do it last time. Let's see, how many minutes am I in here? Okay, not too bad. So, yeah, I think I'll kind of wrap it up because I don't want it to be forever long. And but that was my story. A new thing I want to start doing with the Writing Lair is start talking at the end. I'll end each episode if I can remember. I want to start ending episodes with book, movie recommendations. So some of my favorite stuff. So I think last week I recommended Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. So this week's book that I would like to recommend to you is called A Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. A Boy's Life, published in 1991. It's kind of a coming of age. Well, not kind of. It's coming of age. It's part horror and part mystery and a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of sci-fi in there. It's really well done. It's about a little boy that growing up in the Deep South, I think growing up in Alabama in the early 60s. The book tackles, through a boy's eyes, what it was like to live as segregation. During segregation, it was starting to, those changes were starting to take place at that time. And so there's a little bit of that. And, this boy, his dad's a milkman, and they both witness he's riding with his dad on the milk route around this rural part of town where there's a lake, and they see a car go into the lake, and there's a man at the wheel, and his dad jumps in, tries to save this guy. The car goes into the lake, and but as the dad swims up to the car, finds out the driver is dead, and he's actually handcuffed to the wheel, and that's all I'll say. But so it's kind of a mystery, and anyway, it's a really good book. You'll enjoy it. It's kind of nostalgia, and like I said, coming of age, and just really well done. I really enjoyed it. I've read it twice now. We read it once, and I've listened to it on Audible, and so it is on Audible. It's really well done there. So that's this week's recommendation, A Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. A little update on my progress. For those of you who, if you follow me on Facebook, you'll know that I hit just recently the 120,000 word mark on my current manuscript. So I'm plugging away on that. I'm kind of reaching that point where it's a little more than just sitting down and writing. Okay, this is a lot of work trying to get the end just right. So I'm trying to take a lot of loose ends and either cut them off or tie them in. I've got to start making things flow like they're all out here. They've got to start coming in, and I got to bring them all together and make them connect. So that's where I'm at. This is the hard part for me. Sitting down and just writing stuff and pulling in characters and pulling in story ideas as you go along. That's easy for me. This ending part, I've got about 5 or 6 chapters, 6, 7 chapters probably to just finish this all up and make it all make sense and make a satisfying ending. That's kind of where I'm at with the current manuscript. So I can't give you a timeline. There's a lot of things I need to do. I need to go back and change things probably, and I've got some ideas. I kind of have this real nice idea of how it's going to end, but it's got to make sense. It's got to be done right. So, but it's 120,000 words. My goal was to have this story be 150,000 words. And if you're me, that's limiting yourself. I said, no, I'm not going to do 200,000 words like The Summoning. I'm going to try to stop myself at 150. But in the end, I'll put as many words in there as I need to make it a good story and for it to satisfy me. I'm not going to put a word limit on myself if I think I can make it better by going a little longer or a little shorter or whatever. So anyway, I think that's going to do it this week, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate your support. Appreciate all the encouragement. I appreciate the follows. I am on Facebook. I am on Twitter. I am on Instagram. Just, Google my name, Brady Longmore. If you haven't yet, please please subscribe to the video. Do me a solid. Help me out. Help me grow this channel. And I will be seeing you again. I'll drop another video as soon as possible. But until then, I wish you all happy reading.